But can... The Hulk just roared right over my head, my god. Marvel Superhero Island is one of Universal's islands of adventure in Orlando, Florida. They have 4 main attractions there, but only one true roller coaster. What were the original unrealized plans for what became the Incredible Hulk coaster? What changed during its 2015 to 2016 revamp? Also, is it true that Marvel Superhero Island was once planned to feature characters from the comic book company's competition? Dig out those Hulk hands and watch out for Gamma. This is one coaster that makes sure you won't leave the same. Believe it or not, Marvel Superhero Island was initially conceived as DC Superhero Land. I had to triple check my references for that one because of how implausible it sounds, but apparently it's true. There's even some concept art publicly available. With 1989's Batman movie taking over the pop culture landscape upon its release, and Universal already considering a large expansion on their soon-to-open Universal Studios Florida, this came close to going through. Universal and Warner Bros. Were in negotiations, but a deal never materialized. Part of the problem seemed to be the cost of featuring the characters, but when Warner Bros. Parent company, Time Warner, bought out the Six Flags theme park brand, it gave DC access to have their characters appear at those locations. In the planning stages, Islands of Adventure was to be known as Cartoon World, with DC having a heavy presence. Their part of the park was going to be divided up between a Superman Metropolis area and a Batman Gotham area. According to Boardwalk Times, there was supposed to be a Batmobile dark ride, a trio of roller coasters, including individual ones showcasing the Joker and Penguin, a Batcave nightclub, a dynamic duo stunt spectacular, and a whole lot more. I don't know about you, but that sounds like it would have been heaven for any Bat fan. I enjoy some of the DC-themed stuff at Six Flags, don't get me wrong. The queue for the Batman ride and Superman Ultimate Flight at Great America are personal favorites. But this could have been on a whole different level. A Batman nightclub? I don't even like nightclubs, but I'd be there. A 5-story Batman statue? Yeah, why not? Oh well. MCA, Universal's owners at the time, eventually negotiated with Marvel for theme park rights. They signed an ironclad deal in 1994 that has kept Marvel characters at Universal's Florida park ever since. The situation with Disney purchasing Marvel in 2009 has definitely complicated matters since they're able to use the property in California's Disneyland, but not in Orlando. Also, Universal can't really add anything new to Superhero Island without Disney's approval, which I don't think they've ever given. It's a whole complicated, convoluted mess. There's more detailed videos out there if you want to dive into the minutia. As a result of this stalemate, Marvel Superhero Island has remained in a state of stagnation for many years. Adam Kubert's classic art style adorns the entire space. Combined with distorted perspectives and bright contrasting colors, guests are transported into a late 90s comic book come to life. Walking around there, I love it. It feels like the 90s in a really weird way. At least most of the area does. This may sound oddly specific, but the theming reminds me so much of the Goosebumps 2-parter Attack of the Mutant. It's about a kid who's tormented by a supervillain who enters the real world from one of his comic books. The production design, trying to mimic the exaggerated style of a comic in our reality, looks very similar to large parts of Superhero Island. I think it was just how older folks at the time thought to recreate that kind of imagery in a 3-dimensional space. And it's so distinct. I thought I was going to start bleeding ink any second. The Incredible Hulk coaster is our main event for today. This ride has some additional history to it that I found pretty fascinating. Like it may have originally been themed to the Silver Surfer, but Universal thought better of having a fully chrome roller coaster. After it was decided to give the big green guy his own shot at an attraction, work on the concept and story began. The attraction opened with Islands of Adventure in 1999. The first cue for the ride took guests through Dr. Bruce Banner's laboratory as he devised an experiment to finally stop his Hulk transformations. A cartoon pre-show video featured the Incredible One taking on the Rhino and the military, as Dr. Banner explained his plight and plans to reverse the process that created his alter ego. At one point, he yells at the guests to get out while they still can, since the area is quickly filling with radiation. General Thaddeus Ross also makes an appearance. The animation style exaggerated movements and proportions in a way that might have fit more appropriately in a surreal comedy. You can tell there was a somewhat limited budget here, but these sequences certainly have a fluidity to them that make them stand out. Before they would launch riders from the Gamma Ray Accelerator Tunnel, there would be a voiceover of Dr. Banner, optimistic that the experiment would work. A computer voice would then butt in with a warning that preceded flashing lights. Bruce would then scream "no" at the top of his lungs a few times before guests were sent off. I never got to experience this version of the ride, but I may have liked this theming better than what we have now. The old-school 2D pre-show and general story of guests accompanying Banner on his experiment seems like a more obvious route to go down. The Incredible Hulk coaster was closed in 2015 to undergo a significant enhancement. Universal replaced pretty much the entire track and upgraded the queue with new elements. The comic book entrance art was replaced by a full-size Hulk statue ripping a ride vehicle off a mangled track with a new logo to the left. This updated version of the ride was reopened in August of 2016 with a ceremony that saw Cyclops, Rogue, Captain America, Storm, Wolverine, and Spider-Man make appearances as they all took a ride on the refurbished coaster. As a kid, I remember my cousin coming back from a trip to Orlando and talking about this ride. It sounded like a great time, and I always wanted to give it a go. This last trip to Universal was my second spin on Hulk over a 3-year period. I was thrilled by it the first time. Is it still as solid of a coaster as I recalled? Before jumping in line, you have to put all your stuff in a locker, including phones, wallets, etc. They even have a metal detector before you can enter the interior queue, so this is a zero-tolerance deal. Because of that, I wasn't able to get any footage of the queue. Like I mentioned earlier, I never went on Hulk before the refurbishment, so seeing videos of what it used to look like made everything seem kind of empty. I do really enjoy walking through what they have now, with all the props and video screens really leaning into the new story concept. General Ross is leading a new government-run experiment to recreate the results of Bruce Banner's transformation into the Hulk. On the video screens, test subjects are put through concentrated gamma exposure, turning them into green visages of the titular character. We are about to go through that same process. When we board, we're exposed to the gamma radiation in a launch tunnel and blast off on our own Hulk out. Original music for the coaster by Patrick Stump of Fall Out Boy plays loudly on attached speakers as we take that immediate roll and subsequent drop. Guests hit a top speed of 67 miles per hour for an over 2-minute ride full of dips near the water below and plenty of unique inversions before returning to the loading station.
I just got off the Incredible Hulk coaster for the first time in a few years, only the second time I've ridden this. I remember the first time I came here, the line was so long, and this was really quick. We were up there in like 10 minutes, less than that it felt like. But it is really cool in there. There is like this big transformer type thing in the middle with one of those electrical balls, I don't know what they're called, but those spheres that have lightning basically shooting out of them. There's a lot of Easter eggs to some of the original comics creators. There's Stan Lee Easter eggs, Jack Kirby, Peter David's in there as well. There's like a list of everyone who's involved in the story with the experiment on the military base. And they have like Lou Ferrigno and Bill Bixby from the original TV series. This one, it's a fun ride. It is. It's a fun coaster. It's as intense as it should be for an Incredible Hulk ride. It really takes some unexpected twists and turns, which I really do enjoy. You know, one thing I did really like too is that they played music and speakers like where you're sitting as the ride's going on. That really adds to the experience. I think that really ups the ante in terms of like what you're feeling as you're going through it, and you're getting hyped up with all these horns and stuff that they have that come through the soundtrack. This is a more entertaining, fun, incredible experience than that film from 2003, unfortunately. But this time I did notice it was really like bouncing me around. I was bouncing my head on the side of the restraints that come down, and that kind of distracted from the experience a little bit. I feel like I've been tossed around inside a dryer or something and spit out. It is a bit of an intense ride. It's a fun coaster though, and I'd suggest it.
That score should be in the next Hulk movie, whenever that actually happens, if that ever happens at this rate. This was my last park video for the month, so if you've seen them all or just a few, thanks for watching. Putting these together was a very different process that I wanted to try out, and I enjoyed having the opportunity, but if there is a next time, there's a whole lot I'd like to do differently to improve these videos. More time at the parks, for one. We bid adieu to Universal Orlando Resort, but Juniversal is not over. Next up is a film that was one of the best theatrical experiences of my entire life. We inch closer to modern day by looking to the past. Run, don't walk, to our penultimate installment.